fact, we've been here for quite a while, but I had a bit of a challenge in terms of being an immigrant or a foreigner trying to establish my career here. So I hit a few roadblocks. It wasn't that easy for me at first hand to just secure like internships and job opportunities immediately after the degree and the master's graduation. So my first exposure to actually working based on what I studied was being a lecturer teaching accounting and finance. And I did that for about a year, but I felt like I hadn't really like found myself. So after lecturing, I went into a corporate space and I worked for about 9 months for one of the big four audit firms in audit and assurance. And then COVID-19 hit. And I feel like COVID-19 happening, although it was an event that kind of disrupted a lot of how everyone lived and how business and most people did their everyday jobs. It was this major disruption that actually gave me an opportunity to look into a different career prospect that I had not imagined before, because at the time there was also lockdowns and a lot of retrenchments. So I took that as an opportunity to start thinking a bit more seriously about what I want to do with my life and the future of work and the kinds of things I can be interested in, so that my entire career does not lie in being employed in a specific geographical location, but where I can be relevant anywhere and even maybe be able to take advantage of remote opportunities as well. So that's around 2020, 2021, I started Googling and looking for opportunities for women in tech. And that's what I did. And I bumped into the Tech for Dev Women Techsters Fellowship, which I believe is Nigerian based. And I think there's also a headquarters in the US, I believe, or at least the founder is based there. So at the time, there were several tech tracks for the fellowship. You could either do software development, product management, or data science and artificial intelligence. And I chose the data science and artificial intelligence. So basically, the program was taking us from zero to hero, especially in terms of learning programming, in order to do data science work and AI engineering work. And for me, I had zero background. I had never coded before. I did not know any kind of programming language. And I think the only knowledge that I had at the time of IT or any kind of information or technology skill was probably doing some basics or introduction to computers, hardware and software, probably in secondary school. That's high school for us. So I had no programming knowledge at all. And I think because of that, I had a bit of a rough start. As a matter of fact, Mr. Winner Ameta was one of our facilitators at the time. And I remember being so frustrated because I had no idea what he was talking about or what anyone was talking about, because I had no prior exposure at all, but I kind of stuck it through the journey. And I think that's one of the things in terms of starting something new, especially in tech. The ability to be a learner, a complete learner and novice scares most people. That's why they never try to do something new. And maybe I feel like my biggest breakthrough at the time was submitting to the process and accepting that I have no knowledge whatsoever of what this is. But if I stick to the process, I'm sure by the end of it, I would have mastered something. And so I stuck with it and I completed the 1 year fellowship. We were being taught live classes as well with certain concepts, and we also had projects to do in order to apply our knowledge. And then I finally completed that, but I didn't stop there because it wasn't enough to just complete a fellowship and then hang the skill set or the experience. I decided to do further learning from that. I pursued also certifications with the World Quant University in data science and AI, scientific computing and Python, just to deepen my understanding and knowledge a little bit more over and above what I was taught in the fellowship. So I also did certifications. From certifications, I started looking for opportunities about how I can apply this theoretical knowledge I have to working with a real life practical team, and being part of a team and seeing how I can utilize that. And at the time, because my background, or rather my academic background, was not in computer science, I didn't have a computer science degree or a data science degree. So it was a little bit tough to look for jobs geographically based on where I was for data science jobs or for computer science related jobs when I don't have a degree, because our system is still a bit archaic. In order sometimes to qualify for certain things, you have to like produce that degree, but I didn't have that. So I decided to look into the global market, and I started with online volunteer opportunities. I think my first work experience was in actually using my data science and AI skills from the fellowship and from World Quant. I was working with Hex.ai. It was a volunteer 6 months apprenticeship where they were teaching us how, or rather, we were learning by on the job how to use natural language processing for business value. So we were doing projects regarding sentiment analysis, and just a bit of what that is. It's like when we mine data off the internet or on social media like Facebook, Twitter, about a certain business, let's say a well-known bank, and we're mining like sentiment, what people are talking about on Twitter or Facebook about that bank and how they feel about it. We mine the data, we analyze the sentiment about how people feel about the product, the service, and then we kind of like produce a report to give to that business to say, this is where you stand in terms of how people feel about your product. So I got exposed to actually using natural language processing for business value. And then afterwards, again, another unpaid opportunity was with Africa Code Academy. This one was a Southern African based organization. And there I got experience in terms of using AI for farming or agriculture based solutions. And that was another 6 months apprenticeship, still unpaid. So I practically literally built my portfolio in data science and AI by starting out with doing unpaid work and volunteer work remotely, because the opportunities were not as readily available locally. So I started with remote work, and Hex.ai at the time was based in India and also in the UK. And then the Africa Code opportunity was a Southern African based opportunity. And so that's what I did. And then at some point I continued with that. I started getting opportunities to do digital transformation consulting as a data scientist or data analyst rather. I remember one of the projects that I got brought into work in was to consult for a national development bank in terms of their readiness to digitally transform regarding their data, if they have systems of data capturing and monitoring and evaluation that will then allow them to use data science and machine learning in future. So I was consulting on that, and that was a paid job. And then after a while, because of my previous lecturing experience in accounting and finance, I also got an opportunity to actually teach data science and AI, a certification course with another remote private college. And that's how I also then started becoming a trainer in data science and AI, and being invited to even train like corporates or like a team of employees of companies on grassroots data science and AI, so that they can use it to supercharge their jobs. And in the process of doing that, I also got inspired to start a community, a data science and AI hub, Botswana Community Hub Botswana, which has about 400 members right now. And we've been trying to do more activities. But I think what I really loved about the community is that many of our people who joined the community, it was not just students, it was also professionals and even owners of companies and organizations. So it actually became a networking hub where if you're looking for an opportunity to learn, an internship, or even a job, there were like experts who could guide you on the process, and also even potential employees. And that's how some of our community members also got their first jobs after graduating. So it was a really rewarding experience to start that kind of community and to see it slowly but surely begin to thrive and at least show some grassroots potential. And I also even started doing some community activities of training and guiding novices in data science and AI on where to begin in terms of a career in data science and AI, or basically just trying to learn a technology skill to amplify the kind of skills and experience they have now so that they can be versatile. So I also dabbled in responsible AI. But of late, because of my exposure or my journey from data science and AI and all these different jobs and experiences that I did to build my portfolio and even training, I got an interest in the field of AI governance and AI ethics. And now I work as a researcher and consultant in that field. So that's basically what my journey has looked like, from zero tech background, zero programming background, to a fellowship, to volunteer opportunities and unpaid internships, to then some paid work, and then to now being in research full time and looking forward to what the future holds. And if I do succeed, or if everything goes well, I'm actually looking forward to doing a PhD work and pursuing an academic career in terms of research that surrounds artificial intelligence and ethics and governance and frameworks, because that's also something that's like in the hot seat now. The world is no longer just interested in AI as just as an abstract concept or as a tool or as what they can do with it, but now there's concerns around safety, around security, around how that tool or functionality can be regulated so that it can generate the most good for humans. And that's what I'm into now. So that's basically an overview of my journey. I think I can stop here so that I can give an opportunity for the facilitator to ask specific questions. Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you, thank you.
so are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. I hope I'm clear. I'm loud and clear now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's quite an interesting journey. Thank you very much for sharing with us. So you talked about tech internships and yeah, the ones you had. Uh, can you tell us what are the most important skills required to succeed in these tech internships?
Okay. Succeeding in tech internships, apprenticeships, or even volunteer opportunities. Because I think another thing I didn't mention is that sometimes people are not readily willing to hire you. So sometimes you have to be like, I just want to learn. Can you give me an opportunity to just, understudy unpaid? But in order to thrive in such an environment, some of the most important skills you need beyond technical ability. As a matter of fact, sometimes with these opportunities or internships, technical ability is not like the highest prerequisite. You need the ability to learn because they don't always expect you to have everything figured out. You just need to have the basics, but now you need to be open-minded enough to learn. And so, in order to then thrive in such a space, you also need to be adaptable. I think that's a skill you need to unlearn certain things that you thought you knew and understood before, and to learn the stack and the value system or the product development system of that particular organization that you're working with. Because I think each organization or each team has like a stack or a certain number of tools that they use. So you need to be adaptable, to be willing to do things differently from what you know, and sometimes to even learn completely different things. So you need to be able to adapt quickly to their system and their way of doing things. And also, I think curiosity is a very necessary thing that you need to have. They need to see that you're driven, you're inquisitive, and that's an important skill. And another important skill I think that many people kind of look down upon, I think someone's microphone is unmuted, is the ability to communicate effectively. The tech space moves very quickly. Tools and frameworks change. The tools that were being used 2 years ago or 3 years ago are not the same tools that are being prioritized now. So I think it's very important, even in your internship experiences, to be able to learn quickly, but also to be able to ask the right questions that help you stand out and help even your mentors and your teachers to be motivated to help you out. So I also emphasize soft skills like being able to document your work and giving progress updates. This is very vital in your apprenticeship and internship journey. It's not so much about what you can build, but like how well you can collaborate with others in a team and communicate progress. So yeah.
All right, thank you, thank you. You have dished out a lot of things, and I hope our interns are hearing you right. I think I have another question. So, how do you think students and young professionals can increase their chances of landing a tech internship?
Okay. I think the best place is to start where you are and to build something visible. And what I mean by that is you don't always need a formal internship first. Rather, you can contribute to what are called open source projects, or you can take part in community challenges, hackathons to solve problems in your local community. And another important one is to publish your learning journey online. Anytime you learn something new or you build something cool on your own, like on an open source project or a hackathon, for example, or a community challenge, talk about it. And I make LinkedIn your best friend and Twitter as well. You need to be able to document your journey and be very loud about it, because people don't know what you can do or what you're interested in and what your limitations and capacities are unless you talk about it. And that's also how I came about some of the opportunities that I bumped into. I consistently shared about what I was learning in data science, and that caught the attention of certain mentors and even fellowship programs. So I believe the answer to that is visibility opens doors. I know people in technology or in tech basically are usually known to be geeks or nerds who are introverted. But in the global village that we're now living in, especially with some of the limitations that come with where we are geographically located in terms of opportunities either being saturated or scarce. If you want to build your portfolio and career for a global village, then you need to be visible. Document your journey, participate in open source projects, community challenges, talk about it, post about it, and even use platforms like GitHub to actually even technically document some of the projects that you're working on that are like self-taught or self-directed. That's how you can learn internships, because they want to know, what did you do, right? What have you been doing? What have you been up to? Yeah.
Okay, thank you again. Can you give us maybe few stories, if you have, of individuals who have also leveraged all these internships and secured a full-time role after? Do you have any such stories to tell us?
Well, while I don't have specific people in mind right now, but I'm also recalling some of the ladies that were in my track, or rather were in my fellowship year, the year of 2021 to 2022. Some who went with software development, some who went with data science and AI. A few of my friends from those cohorts are now working full time for certain NGOs. They're working as data scientists, as analysts, as software developers from the Women Texters Fellowship. They did internships and even volunteer opportunities afterwards. And now they have full-time roles, and they're now like regarded as experts in their domain, which is also similar to my journey as well, in terms of how after a period of maybe 3 or 4 years, I started getting paid opportunities as a data science and AI trainer on a full-time basis. So I'd say those are the success stories I know, even though I'm not there yet as well, but at least you can kind of trace my trajectory in terms of how far I've come and what I've been able to do. But I feel like with friends in my cohort as well, those are like the examples that I can leverage. Some of them work for organizations like the UN. Some also work for global companies like Microsoft, from just building internship and portfolio experience. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, from your at the beginning of this call, when you introduced yourself, you said a lot of amazing things, and I think what this whole stuff shows is consistency. So, how important do you think consistency is in building a successful tech career?
All right. Well, consistency is the real differentiator, if I can put it that way. There are many people who start things but don't finish. It's not easy to complete, especially if they bump into certain roadblocks or if they realize this is harder than they anticipated. So, not many people really have the tenacity to complete stuff. And with regards to succeeding in tech, or at least reaching at a place where you achieve significant milestones, I think persistence is a rewarding factor in technology, not perfection. Because when I transitioned from finance to data science and AI, I wasn't the most knowledgeable or the smartest in the room, but I just showed up daily, ready to learn to write. And over time, those small steps that I took, those small steps to complete a fellowship experience, to pursue further certifications, to complete an apprenticeship period, those small steps compounded, and because of that consistency, I was now able to build confidence, to work on even harder challenges. And that also led to certain opportunities being able to open up. So consistency is very, very key. It's not about doing big things in a short space of time or at an accelerated pace. But if you can take baby steps towards a certain direction and you keep launching that way consistently, your journey will become recognizable to some people, and it can be rewarded with opportunity for even further learning and deepening your roots in an industry, or even financially remunerating opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, still on this consistency, I think is what all of us that are here on the call needs at this moment. And I would like to ask again, do you have any strategies that we can use to maintain this consistency in this internship or in our own work or personal projects? Do you have any strategies?
Okay. Regarding strategies, I would say the simplest strategy, right? That often like flies over our head is setting small and measurable goals, not big goals. Whether you're learning a new skill or you're starting out with an apprenticeship or a program, set small goals that you can measure and monitor across time. For example, instead of saying, I'm going to learn artificial intelligence, which is a very broad and maybe even abstract concept because it has so many layers, you would rather say, I'll complete one Python notebook this week, or I'll complete learning variables or learning Python syntax this week or across a period of 6 weeks. And then I will build on that by sharing my progress weekly or every 2 weeks on a GitHub platform, on a tech community, or on LinkedIn. That's how you then you are intentional about the journey, and it also prevents burnout from trying to do a lot or from trying to pour so much or do more than you can actually handle at that time. So you have to make sure you minimize your goals. Instead of having one large goal, have a small goal, have a starting point, and be able to measure it by giving it time factors to say, weekly, this is what I'll be pursuing. And then after 3 weeks or so, I evaluate that process. So if I can summarize that, I'll say set small or measurable goals that you can measure with a certain time period, because this makes them doable and it then helps you to be consistent. And I think that's the most important strategy. And that's the only one I feel like is the one you should embrace first. Yeah.
All right. I think most of us on the call, all the interns, most of us here, we usually have our other roles, but then we are still doing this maybe so that we can transition later to this other role. So, how can one balance learning new skills with consistency in in their current role or projects?
Okay. Balancing new skills, or rather balancing learning new skills with consistency in their current role or projects. Yeah, I think that's a very important question, because sometimes, in order to learn, not everyone, and I call it a privilege, because not everyone can stop everything they're doing to learn a new skill. Not everyone has that kind of support from their family or environment, or not everyone can even afford to do that, to say, I'll resign from my job, or I'll take a gap year from school, or I'll take a leave just to spend 6 months learning something. Because you kind of have, some of you probably have to think, okay, while I'm learning the new skill, I still need to put food on the table. So I can't completely stop everything just to focus on this one thing. And that's something important to address. So I'll then say that um, treating learning a new skill while still maintaining the other stuff that you're doing. Maybe you're a full-time student, you're in your fourth year, you're still trying to complete your degree, or maybe you even have a 9 to 5 job, which kind of you have these other what you call commitments that demand energy from you. That means that sometimes you learning a new skill may come as an afterthought, but I think you have to treat it as one of the important things. You have to block time for it, like learning hours. Schedule it, like put it on your calendar, like a work meeting or a school project meeting. Be very intentional about setting time aside for it. And it's not like you have to set aside like a large amount of time. You could give yourself a calendar or a schedule that says, in order for me to learn introduction to programming in Python for data science, I'm going to block out 5 hours every week or 10 hours every week. That's a week of 7 days. And that means if I'm going to do that, maybe because of my current job or my being a full-time student, I probably can only allocate that 10 hours a week to 3 days in the week. So I make sure that within those 3 days in the week, maybe Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, I will block out 3 hours to learn this skill. So that's how you can go about it. You can maintain your everyday life, your 9 to 5 job, or your other commitments if you're a student or a parent, for example, because a lot of the ladies that were on my track or cohort, they weren't just young students. Some of them were mothers who were learning. They had to tend to their kids and they also needed to prepare dinner. So in order to then successfully be able to start learning a new skill and complete it or do anything at all, you have to be intentional about it and realistically set aside some hours or block them aside to be able to pursue it. And I believe that's the key to balance. Schedule your life, have a routine, and block some things to say, from on this day, this is what I do. Within this hours, this is what I do. I know some friends also who are like pursuing the professional certifications in ACCA and certain professional certifications, who work 9 to 5 jobs. So they've told themselves that for the rest of the year, I will wake up between 12 midnight and 3 a.m. to study every single day, and then go to bed and then wake up 6 a.m. and prepare to go to work. And that feels like a very tight schedule, but it requires a lot of commitments in terms of blocking out your time and determining a routine that works for you. That's really how you can balance. Otherwise, you won't be able to successfully complete something that you've started. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it actually helps. So I have just two last questions before we end the section. Maybe you maybe take questions, but just two last questions, and I'm going to ask two of them together. So the first one is, how can individuals build a strong professional network in the tech industry? And can you share any advice on finding mentors in the tech industry? Just these two.
Okay, so building a strong professional network, and also how to find mentors. Yeah, to be honest, these days, your net worth is determined by your network. You're as rich as the people you know and the spaces that you are part of. Because I realized in my journey as well that you would never ever know about certain opportunities unless you are in certain communities that are interested in that, and that's how you come to know. Because to be realistic, some opportunities feel very exclusive. They're not always openly advertised. So depending on being at the right place at the right time or being in a particular network. That's how you know them. So I would encourage anyone who wants to build a strong professional network in the technology industry to join communities. There is a lot of communities online. That's where you can grow your tech career. So, for example, with me, I'm active in global networks like Women in AI Ethics. There's also a community called Deep Learning in Daba. I especially encourage you guys to get to know about them because they have an annual conference that happens yearly, and this time it will be hosted in Nigeria, I think in 2026, because in 2025 it was hosted in Rwanda. So be on the lookout for the Deep Learning in Daba community and any other local hubs. Those are the ones that actually connected me to mentors and even collaborators. So I made it intentional to search for communities to join online and to ask people what communities they are involved in and to share information, but also how to build the network, attend webinars such as these, volunteer for projects. You don't always have to just wait for hiring opportunities. Look for projects online and volunteer for them. That's how you build a network, and don't be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn and to authentically build connections on LinkedIn. Many of us don't really prioritize building authentic connections on LinkedIn. Identify certain people who are in the line of work that you want and start off intentional conversations, asking intentional questions. And I believe that's also how you actually find mentors. Um, so mentorship doesn't always need to be formal. It can be informal. You can just invite certain people to simply observe what you have learned, and they can give you advice based on that, based on their principles. And with mentors, they don't look for you, you look for them. You have to be rightly positioned. You have to be willing to reach out and to ask the relevant questions and be consistent about it, because time is money also. If you have somebody you have identified in your journey and you want them to walk with you and to be very significant in your journey, you have to be intentional, scheduling maybe fortnight meetings with them. You have to be the one updating them. You do a new project or you add to your portfolio, you give them an email, you send them an email and say, this is what I've done. Can you please review? That's how you find and also maintain a good mentorship. So yeah, that's what I can say about that.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that I have to ask this after saying that I will close up after 2. But I have this important question from the chats, and it says, can you share how you searched for internships and applied? Please, can you throw a light on this?
How I searched for internships and applied. I didn't really have a very special. I did what everyone does, like Google, because that's I discovered opportunities for women in technology, particularly the Women Texters Tech for Dev opportunity, by doing a deep dive Google search, but also LinkedIn. So there's a way you can optimize your LinkedIn profile for getting notifications about specific jobs or specific opportunities in certain locations. So you have to optimize your LinkedIn what you call profile for that to be able to get certain notifications. And also with the first apprenticeship opportunity I got with Hex.ai, it was on a website. I forgot the full name of the website, but it was a website where they invite anyone to volunteer on a project. Like, they advertise projects and opportunities, and then you kind of you apply to be there. Like, you give them their portfolio so that they can evaluate whether you would be a good addition to the project. I'll search for the name and then I'll send it to the team so they can share with you guys. And also, most opportunities as well to build your portfolio are on remote work sites, right? So there's specific sites for technology jobs that you can actually build a portfolio for. And how they work is you build a portfolio, like let's say a portfolio for a data analyst. And then anytime somebody pops up and says, I'm looking for somebody to do this kind of work for a period of 1 month or 2 months, you give them your proposal and a charge. So that's also how some remote job sites work as well, where you should be in a position to propose what you can do and at what fee you can do it and take advantage of those. Yeah.
All right, all right. So, does anyone on the call still have any further question before we close? Do we have someone who has a question? All right. So, yeah, this has been so wonderful and insightful as well. So, thank you, Hove, for being on the call and also part of our story. Um, Personally, I want to say sorry for every inconvenience maybe I've caused during the preparation phase of this section, but thank you for honoring the invitation and thank you for being here. You have been part of our stories and we hope to apply everything that you've said and we also hope to achieve the same results that you have. Thank you very much.
Thank